Boom, boom. We are live. Over on that side, no, is Benny. Benny Griffen, the Stomper. And then on the other side is Chris Watson, Antidote of a Houndsman. And it doesn't have my name there. What's up with that?
Not important this week.
You are.
Uh-huh. It's
Not
got
important
me
this
under
week.
Benny. What's wrong with this program?
Oh, there it is. Brett Vaughn, yeah.
No, I'm not
I
gonna
guess Brett's taking over now.
I'm not gonna let Benny take my name. I'm gonna take it away from him. So what's going on, guys? Let's see. We got 10 eyeballs in here and 3 thumbs up. Tell me what your week was like, Chris.
I tried not to work so much. And then I made sure no one was going to be here today at my job, so I didn't have to go work today. And then all my kids and old lady came down, and we got a couple skid steers to work around the yard, so I didn't get to go out Saturday. But Sunday we took off and went to hit the Butterfield stagecoach line over on my side of the country.
Did you make it to the station or?
I made it to Maricopa Wells was one. There's 26 stops in Arizona. I tell you what, you read the history on that, and they're doing 2,800 miles in 25 days.
Wow.
I think the fastest recorded is 22 days from Tipton, Missouri to San Francisco. So,
but the stage, it only ran for a few years, right?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah,
58 to 61 because of the Civil War. And this guy, John Butterfield, was he was like a master stage line guy. That's why, the government gave him the contract for the overland, what is it called? The overland mail, whatever it was, yeah, it's crazy. And it wasn't a stagecoach like you would think. It was a big square box that had a few seats in it that would fold down, because they carried mail. It was just for mail. So
yeah.
I don't think they ever had a recorded killing. They've been robbed. They got robbed by Apaches one time, but nobody died. But it's not like the Wells Fargo where they're always carrying gold and silver and always getting robbed. So,
where did that Wells Fargo line run from? I wonder.
I haven't got into that yet. Just this Butterfield. So
Benny probably knows. He probably rode on it.
He did. I think so.
Probably robbed it. Hey, where's our spiritual leaders there? What's up, guys?
He's on his way to work.
Oh, man, that's terrible.
Yeah. Better say a prayer for us tonight. Might get crazy.
It'd be a free-for-all. Benny, what do you have for the week? What'd you do besides, did you stomp anybody?
Oh, no. I've been laying low.
There he goes again. The minute he starts to talk, he freezes up.
Yeah. Maybe it's not his phone. Maybe he's doing it on purpose to make himself look like he's freezing, so you don't have to talk.
That's how I get incognito.
You freeze?
Freeze.
Yeah. Doing the robot.
Uh-oh. Snow hunters are in the chat. Let the trash talking begin.
Oh, man.
Already.
Here you go, Benny.
Listen, we weren't even gonna talk about snow hunters, but Jeremiah started it. Hey, we got a guy who can.
Benny.
That's what we got tonight.
Get your stomping boots on.
Yeah. We have a guy that has.
No.
I went out this week to go to Cookstown, which is up from the Butterfield stage stop there by Cook's Peak and Fort Cummings. And I'd gone over there before and took my hounds and went up there and camped and rode those hills around there. And then I rode up to the top, and then I went back like a couple weeks later, and I rode up the trail, and I climbed all the way to the top of Cook's Peak, and got a few barks here and there, and just never could really trail. But then, when was it? It was Thursday? I think it was Thursday, when I went up there to Cookstown, an old ghost town, and my idea was to film it, but I found this book in the library, and you can't check it out. But I copied it, took pictures of it with my phone, and then I read it in the video because there's some really cool stories. Like, and this book was written like in 1923, and maybe a little later than that. I don't know. But anyway, one of the stories was this guy. He said someone made him mad. So it reminded me of Benny for some reason. Someone made him mad, and he shot the guy and shot his horse. In later days, he said he was sure sorry he shot that horse. But it was some really cool stories. So I just made the video and I told all the stories. And I thought it was pretty cool. But while I was there, I meant to film more of the town. Well, the dogs hit a lion track. So there we go. We trailed a lion until what, 3:30 or 4, something like that. I didn't get back until to the trailer until after dark. But it was pretty good. It was an older track, but the dogs did really good. So kind of messed up my filming about the town, but I'll trade that for trailing a lion any day.
That's
What's
right.
going on in the chat?
Wayne wanted us to talk about maybe when our dogs got wounded. We were trying to get a vet on those. Kind of hard, but we can talk about a couple dog injuries and how we fixed them here later on. We got a guy from back east that came lion hunting on, and he says he has every respect for a southwestern hound hunter.
For a dry ground lion hunter.
Yeah, he said it was a tough. Johnny can attest to that. Johnny said the same thing. Them back feet tenderfoot sons of guns, they can't handle it.
Here we go. Here comes the thumbs down.
Just take it out on me. And then you got, who else? Who just talked some last week? Oh, yeah, that was Wayne. Wayne wanted to talk about kind of how we took care of our dogs. We could do that later on. And then we got Zachary trying to start trouble. What is the best bear hunting dog?
Plot.
The one that don't chase a bear, chases lions.
Did you ever run many bears, Benny? I asked you that before.
Yeah, I did. Very short term. I had some good bear dogs. I bought them from Rick Dickerson when he quit bear hunting and went to lion hunting. But I just never I was never on one of those easy bear races. Mine were all scattered dogs, and one of those dogs ended up, I couldn't find that booger, and I thought, well, he'll either die or somebody will call me. And 2 weeks later, Dickerson brought him back to me. He was over there camped out 20 miles from where we ran that bear. And that dog showed up at this woman's house looking for some groceries, and she took it over there to Rick's camp. And he said, yeah, I know that dog. I know who that is. I'll bring him home. And I thought, I just don't enjoy this.
I understand completely. We ran a bear one time way over there on the other side of East Curtis Canyon, ended up in I called it West Curtis Canyon. I mean, it's way out there in the nowhere. And I got out there and I thought I was going to be old Ben Lilly. I said, I don't want to ride out of this thing after dark. I'll just spend the night. So I set me up a nice little camp, got me a fire going and everything. Had I called it a whoobie. It was just an insulated blanket that packed down real tight. And I think Kafaru made it. I pulled that sucker out, laid it over me. And I mean, the biggest thundercloud came right over the top of that mountain. I mean, it started pouring. And I was under my saddle and my blankets and everything, and like to froze to death. And man, I don't want to, and I never did see a bear. And I thought, man, I don't want to do this no more.
When you read that book, Wild Sports of the Far West, what is Johnny trying to call me right now? Does he know I'm on a live? You might have butt dialed me. When you read that book by that Gerstaken guy, Frederick Gerstaken, those guys are always froze out there. You see in the cowboy movies where they're running around and they only got that little tiny blanket on the back of their. I can imagine if you're Jeremiah Johnson and you build that bed of coals, but I don't know how they did it. You wake up with two inches of snow on them. It's a really good book. It's a very good book. Mm-hmm. Oh man, you read that book, Wild Sports of the Far West, and the stories he tells going into a cave with a candle. He didn't have no LEDs. You know, he didn't even have those. You remember those Kmart 98-cent different colored flashlights you had to shake to get them to work half the time? You know, that's what I went into mines with. And you had 4 of them because he's afraid the one would burn out or just not work, you know? So, so
I get
appreciate.
people give me a hard time because the name of my YouTube channel, my other YouTube channel, is Born 100 Years Too Late. But man, I wear a nice headlamp and I carry modern gear. I don't believe in that suffering.
Troy says, "What is a NorCal hound chaser?" That's a houndsman in California that trees 300-pound coons.
Because that's all that's legal.
That's all that's legal.
So tell us the guy that's going to be coming on, Chris. You talked to him?
Yeah. So he had made a post, and he was over there hunting. I don't know if I want to say with who or anything, but he
Yeah,
was over
go
there
ahead and
hunting.
say.
Yeah, he was over there hunting with Mike Bency in New Mexico, and he just said it was tough. You know, and there's all pictures of snow. You know, and dry ground's pretty tough. You're just, you know, but when you have to walk through snow, chasing stuff, I tell you that snow. We make fun of snow guys, but I've snow hunted where you're walking
Oh,
3 foot of snow, 2 foot of snow, and you use muscles that you never even knew you had. You know, but he said he had a lot of respect. He said he's ready to go home and get out of the mountains. I think he's from Georgia, but he made a big post about it. So I texted him, you know, I messaged him and said, "Hey, you want to come on and tell everybody how great we are?" Basically, I don't know how tough it is. It ain't just tailgate the tree, you know. So,
yeah, it's all hard. It don't matter where
and
you're at.
and then here's a little fake book story. Is my cousin tags me in a post, and the guy says, "I hunt Unit 39. It's a tough unit. There's no lines here. Maybe there's 4 in the whole 100 square miles." He said something about hunt lions. My cousin tagged me, and I get on there, and the guy says, "Well, yeah, you can go hunt lions as long as you don't use dogs. That's cheating. You're lazy." And that I can let stuff go, but I didn't. I said, "Gee, you know, lazy. What do you consider lazy?" I said, "Have you ever even followed hounds?" And I said, "You know, you want to talk about cheating? Well, here's a little bit of cheating. Like, so I said, how are you going to kill a lion? You know, I let dogs go. I follow them around. In this kind of desert, you're not going to catch a lion. You know you're not going to. You're going to try to trail them. And if you're lucky to catch a track in this crappy, dirty, nasty soil, you might trail them. And if you trail them, the chances of you catching them is like 1 out of 100, 1,000. Horrible." I said, "How are you going to kill a lion? You're going to call them in?" I said, "So you're going to use a predator call, trick him to see he's going to eat, and then you're going to shoot him?" I said, "That sounds like cheating to me." I said, "Or are you going to glass him up? Are you going to glass him up and then shoot him
Well,
from
high
a
powered, yeah.
1,000 yards away?" I said, "That's not fair." I said, "In order for it to be fair, you better run him down on foot and kill him with your bare hands. And then we'll talk about how I cheat." I guarantee it's a
Yeah,
lot easier calling them in or glassing them up in my
perception.
area. Hmm.
I mean, perception's everything, and so many of these guys that have never done it just sit there and think, oh, we just drive around, dump a bunch of dogs out, and then look at our Garmins until they're treed, and then run out there and shoot it. And they don't
Yeah.
see. I mean, and one of the problems is because social media, that's what people share. You know, of course, we all like to see it. We know
Oh, yeah.
everything that went into it to get to that point, but the general public, they don't know that. They just see a bunch of dogs barking at the bottom of a tree, and so you know, it's just one of those
No,
things.
it's whatever they heard or whatever they think. But I mean, unfair chase, you can go all day long with it. I've always
That's
argued that point.
that's what you know. I was listening to the Houndsman XP today, Chris Powell, talking about that. What is it? 91. What is it called? Somebody help me here. Uh, and I mean, they do. We need to fight that. Everybody needs to do what they can to help that. You know, to help Colorado, whatever. And if you go to the Houndsman XP and look in their show notes, they have all the links where you can
Yeah.
go help those
Save
guys.
the hunt, Colorado.
Yeah,
And
save
and
the hunt.
basically what Dan Gates has said is we need $10 million to even fight this, and it's going to cost $5 million. And then anything after that, they'll have kind of a platform in case they hit Arizona, New Mexico, Utah,
They'll have everything
Nevada.
in place already.
Yeah, and they have the money, so it don't take much to donate $10. All you fat houndsmen go out and buy hot dogs and sodas at Circle K, anyways. Take $10. Don't buy a pack of cigarettes or a six-pack
Fat
of beer that day.
Houndsman, you're insulting me and Benny.
I was insulting myself there too. There ain't nothing wrong with the belly.
I sent him $100. So
yeah,
that was a donation from Born 100 Years Too Late.
I sent him $100. Who was it? Was it Troy Barb? One of these guys on here super chatted me $100 that I sent over. Then I sent over 100. I think it was Troy Barber. Was that you? It was either Troy or Timothy, one of the Timothys. I could have swore it was Troy. Somebody super chatted me and I sent over some money.
What do you think, Benny? Do you think we have a chance of winning that, or do you think Colorado has a chance of winning it? Keeping their hound hunting?
Nope.
Speak up. You're a little quiet.
I don't know how come I'm quiet, but I don't think that there's a chance. I don't think there's a chance that all this stuff. I went to the game and fish commission meetings for years, and it was the same old people, the same old song and dance, and you can get up there and you can say, I represent this and I represent that, and all these people agree. Here's a piece of paper everybody signed, and the bottom line is they're just letting you jump through the hoops. It's a dog and pony show, and you don't make the rules. I know that's a very negative outlook, but it's the same. At the same time, you tell me when people have come together and got anything stopped other than the Bundys.
Well, don't you believe that because of social media and because of all these podcasts and everything, that we might be a little better organized now and have more power? Because because back when you were hound hunting, did they have telephones back then or anything?
Telegraph.
Well, yeah, stop and get those kind that roll them up on your side of your head.
Call the operator.
But when let's see, my daughter she's just about to turn 39, so that's how far back. When she was in high school, she was maybe in junior high. Anyway, she was in school, and I discovered the Wildlands Project, and it was one of those deals that started by Dave Foreman, who was one of those real high-powered environmental wildlife activists, and it was a hush-hush deal back then. But now I think it's called Agenda 21, and they're out in the open, and they're showing you what they're willing to do. Ted Turner donated $1 billion way back then. The United Nations has put money into it. And if you stop and, Chris, you go right there on the roads that you take below Pace and go into the valley, you see where they took all of those highways out of the canyons and put them up on top and made huge bridges, got them out of the waterways. And, look at the old road that went up to Payson. It went up through Sunflower and all of that. It's completely closed off now. They don't want, and those are corridors. And they're programming the public for corridors. Everything's a safety corridor. When you come over here to New Mexico, Brett, right over there in your neighborhood, coming up the San Andres Pass, that there's on the Oregon side of the mountain, there's a sign that says this is a wildlife corridor. And if you look into everything that all of that entails, you can fight with it. You can tell them it's no good. You can get everybody together, but basically they're going to do what they want to do, and they don't give a rip. For 20, 30 years now in Canada, they've been making huge overpasses. Or no, I guess they build huge culverts, and the highway continues to go where it goes, but they have a mile or 2 mile wide deal that they built and hauled in all of this soil over the top of the highways so that the wildlife can go across there in these corridors. And that's realistically that's what's stopping the fence, the border wall fence in the Palencio Mountains. The Palencios are a wildlife corridor.
So what's bad about that? What do you disagree with that about?
They want okay, they want 50% of the North American continent human free.
But but the wildlife corridors, why would you disagree with that? I'm just curious.
There's a deal, Brett. Came back from the 70s. Now you start to hear about the wild and scenic rivers.
Hmm.
This deal was put in place in the 70s, the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And that says that there will be no human contact in that river or in that waterway, whether there's water there or not. And you can't even get within a certain distance to that river. And those are being taken away. And that's only for the purpose of wildlife, um, pristine conditions. You can't ride your horse through there. You can't walk through there. There's parts of this wildlands project when I first discovered it. You could read about it. Um, they even want parts of. They don't want aircraft flying over these corridors above us, below a certain level. If you look on, like in New Mexico Game and Fish, the wildlife posters that they have, or prints, they're kind of papered. They're not really, you know what I'm talking about, the big pictures
Hmm.
of wildlife. If you look on the bottom of them, there's a sea turtle, and it's called Turtle Island, and that's what the Wildlands Project has called their deal. North America is Turtle Island, and they used to have pieces of the turtle that were separated like a puzzle, and they were moving closer together. And when it's all put back together, they say the pieces are all complete. And that's all. They just want it human free. And if you look at what they're doing to rural America, they're trying to put us all in a concrete jungle. And all of that has to do with worshiping this earth and these wildlife.
So you think that those corridors is just a step towards trying to move us from ever being able to go into the woods or anything?
That's what I believe, yes.
Chris, any
I
comment
don't
on
know.
that? You keep up
I'm
with
a little
politics and stuff?
I'm a little different on that. I think. Well, I understand it's a death by thousand cuts, obviously. And what do they go after? I think they know that the Houndsmen are a bunch of whiny babies and we're like a bunch of little girls out in the woods. You know what I mean? It's the drama's out of control. There ain't a Houndsman on here that can argue with the point that we're jealous, we're naive, we're big babies. We don't want you hunting in our area. You know what I mean? We own everything. So I think when they start chopping away, they took away trapping. Trapping's just horrible. You got a poor little animal stuck his foot in a trap. It makes a great picture for PR. So that's how they chopped that out. And no one cared about it. That was in the 90s everywhere. And then it just starts. So now, houndsmen, there's not a lot of houndsmen as much as there are deer hunters or
No.
archery hunters or elk hunters or predator hunters. They chopped away at the predator, the competitions, to where you can't call it a competition, coyote competition. It's I don't know what they call it now. It's something else. They had
I
to
think Brett's
rename it. It's the
internet
same
bombed
thing,
again.
you know. And
I
then
see I'm
with
being right here, but
with
everybody's froze and quit.
well, we can. Am I
Tell
froze?
him,
I don't know. I can
Benny.
see everybody. Benny just talking to himself.
Can you get YouTube on here?
Benny, we can hear you.
So, so with hound hunters, there's not a big group of us that are going to stick together. And I've heard people, and it kind of drives me crazy. There's a couple people in there say it's not worth it. It's not worth it, but it is worth it. I mean, you can't just go down without a fight. When the government comes to your house and says, it's condemned because you have a broken window, you're not going to just give it to them. You at least got to kind of fight for it. And I think if in Arizona in 2000, I believe 17, 2019, 20, whatever, a couple of years apart, they did the same thing. They came in 17 and tried to get rid of hound hunting because they got the pretty little animals and don't shoot the cats, and we kind of pushed them off. And then they go to the next state, but they're just testing the water,
Yeah.
stick your toe in the water and see if you're going to jump in. And they're going to hit these states that aren't going to fight back. And I think if Colorado, that's right. If you put up a big stink and you got that money and you're going to, if they're going to raise $10 million, they're going to think about it again when Colorado says, when your neighbor gets robbed and you go over there and you beat the crap out of the people robbing it,
Stomping.
they're not going to rob your place. You know what I mean? They're not going to rob your other neighbor's place. So I think if you don't take that, make crap out of
I
people,
don't know.
I think they're going to keep coming back to your house and robbing you. And I think even the deer hunters should jump in on it. I think even the elk hunters, because when they're done with hound hunters, they're going to go after the next. Look at New Mexico. They took away scopes. Then he bailed on us. He didn't like my comments. They're going to they took the scopes away from muzzle loading. So that's just a death by 1,000 cuts. That's a little cut.
Just incremental. They can just keep picking away until they get it where they want it. I guess it gives them something to do. I don't know. Whoop.
But put 10 hound hunters. You could probably send that guy a link too. Matt. Matt.
Yeah, I was going to tell him it's 6 o'clock or Sinu.
So, I mean, it's just up the way. Benny's back. Sorry, Benny. I'm sorry you didn't like what I said. I'll quit.
No, the whole thing froze up. I thought maybe Brett's internet went down.
Now Chris froze up.
Did I? I'm moving. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there he is. He looks a little fuzzy though. Yeah, let me send him a link.
Wayne. Hey brother, you're wrong. Their houndsman cancer is a bad attitude. Some are welcoming and well, that's with anything. But you got big banquets for mule deers. You got big banquets for whitetails, Coos Deer Hunters Associations. And there's big banquets for the Rocky Mountain Elk, Foundation, all that stuff. Where's your big banquets for your houndsmen? Your bighorn sheep hunters sure love the houndsmen. Heck, they'll buy you dog food to go in there and kill them lions out of those areas.
There's too much competition, Chris. We're competitive with each other, and we're those guys killing deer and killing elk, and they're all out there at one time, and they're all glad to see each other out and about. And hey, you're lucky you won the draw. I'm lucky I won the draw. And for us, my dogs are better than yours. You don't even know what the hell you're doing. What are you doing hunting in my mountain range? So there's a lot of that goes on, and there's a lot of pride and competitiveness. And realistically, there's a bunch of pin-headed jackasses that are amongst us too.
Amongst us?
Wayne.
Well,
present company excluded.
Well, no, I'm just saying hound hunters, Brett, including myself in the foray. There's people that they don't want to see anybody else on the mountain.
It's true.
So, but we're not in that big archery deer hunting groups, and we're not in that. I'm not the big elk. Maybe there's just as much drama. I know there's drama. There's gonna be drama, public land, and all that crap. But what is he, Wayne? I can't stand an off-putting asshat. No reason to be selfish with what we have, and then turn around and be surprised that we're misunderstood.
He's talking about Benny.
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't know.
I heard our guest. I thought he came into the green room.
His opinion on it.
Hey, let's do this real quick before I bring him on. I forget to do this all the time.
Yeah, you better.
I forget. And I'm sorry, guys, but got to pay the bills, man. Besides that, I paid somebody to make this for me.
Better use it.
I like to watch it every now and then. Don't ask. Don't ask. Love my cowboy bedroll. That thing is nice. And everything is brought to you by W Hunting Supply. I haven't had them added yet, but they're helping us out. They're helping me out with my interviews that I'm going to do. They're going to help out with these live deals. So if you need anything for your hound, go to W. They're supporting us. All right. We are joined now by
Mark Booth.
Mr. Mark Booth.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Good. Thanks for having me on.
We're going to turn him down just a little bit. We got you a little loud. See if I can do this right.
He's on a phone. Those phones really pick up good.
Yeah. So where are you at? Where are you at, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Where are you?
I am in South Georgia, down close to the Florida line.
Is that you born and raised down there?
Yes, sir. I've lived in Lakeland, Georgia my entire life. I built a house next door to my parents. I didn't go far from home.
What do you do in Lakeland, Georgia? I
work in the town down the road from us. I actually do anesthesia for a living, so I put people to sleep.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
Boy, would I love to have a teammate like that.
Be handy to have around.
Can we get a little bottle of that?
Yeah, I hear you. I get that asked a lot of me, I promise you.
We could use some for Benny every now and then. He gets a little angry.
I could knock him out.
We need something in a spray bottle so his first wife can just walk by and kind of spritz it above his head.
I wish it was that easy sometimes.
What do you hunt? Do you have hounds? What's your story down there?
Oh yeah, I grew up deer hunting with hounds. My dad had them. I've been dog hunting for 40 years now. I just turned 40 last year, so I've been doing it my entire life.
Wow.
I've got 10 head of running walkers out in the kennel now that I deer hunt with. And I started Southern Hound Hunting Magazine. September will be 6 years ago, just something I was kind of passionate about. And started a dog hunting magazine dedicated to anything you can hunt with hounds or dogs.
Cool.
So I've kind of expanded my knowledge a little bit since I started the magazine from just deer to a little bit of everything.
What that deer hunting with hounds, that's kind of a social event, isn't it? I mean, a bunch of guys get together.
Yeah.
Go through it. Let's go deer hunting.
So, all right. So what we'll do, 2 or 3 of us, my daughter included now, she's 11. We'll get up, meet at the Huddle House here in town, a couple hours before daylight, eat breakfast, and we'll head to the club. And we're lucky. Our club's about 18 minutes from the house. And we'll hit the dirt roads. We've got some really great roads in our club. And we'll have a track light out on the side of the truck, and we'll look for what we think's a good buck track, fresh on top of everything. And everybody takes their kind of roads, whatever hadn't been looked yet. We're talking on the CBs, keeping in touch, and we'll get out and drag our foot in the dirt on a good track that we want to try later in the day or first thing, depending on whose turn it is. And then once daylight hits, we decide which track we want to try, which block of woods we want to turn out in. And whoever's got the track turns out first usually. And we use trail dogs. Most of us have a good dog or two that's really cold nosed more than the rest. Turn the trail dog out on the track, let them get it kind of started going. And once we can tell it's getting a little hotter, and it's usually 200 or 300 yards off the road, we'll start adding more dogs to the pack. And most of the time, it's anywhere from 5 to 8 dogs for the most part. And just like anything you hunt with hounds, you can tell by the barks, they're getting hot on this trail. And then what we call jump, when they've got that deer out of his bed or up on his feet running, barks change completely. The whole pack's barking. It's just a loud chorus of hounds singing. And then the race is on. So when we've turned out, we hunt out of our trucks primarily. Guys will get around the block, say we're hunting in the Laney block. Guys will be on the Carla Joyce 2-path. Guys will be on the Beehive, John Road, and the Claudy Road, trying to pick a spot where they think this buck's going to cross the road and hopefully they get a shot. So, a lot of times when you've done it as long as some of us have, deer are going to cross in a lot of the same kind of areas, but it doesn't happen all the time. So if it was 100% kill every race, it wouldn't be called hunting. And that's the thing, dog hunters, as deer hunters go, get knocked. They think it takes, all the fair chase out of it. But when we're running a deer, he's running wide open, and he's still got all of his faculty of senses available. He's still using his nose. He can smell the trucks. He can smell us. He can smell the dogs in our truck. He's still using his eyes, even if he's running through the woods. He's using his hearing. He's got all those senses fired up because he knows he's being pursued with a pack of dogs behind him. So, if you get there on the stand a little too late and that deer's just happened to be coming there, you turned him when he heard the truck. He's gone a different direction. So some of these races can go for hours. I mean, now some of us have our misses. We'll see a good buck cross the road and we'll shoot at him. And we're shooting shotguns with buckshot, and misses do happen just like anything hunting. And so we keep running him through the next block. And if it ends up being a doe or a small buck that we don't want to shoot, we'll call our dogs off, catch them up, and go on to the next track. And we do it all day long. I mean, daylight to dark, we've got dogs out running, and we'll turn out on tracks as long as the conditions and the tracks hold up. But, first part of the season down here in Georgia, it's still really hot. It'll be 85, 95 degrees and 100% humidity. So tracks kind of get dried out pretty quick. And so we'll cast in areas, where there's some water, think there's a good buck laying, and let our dogs free cast and hunt one up for us like that if, we're tired of turning on tracks. So it's a big time. It's definitely a social event. There'll be 15 to 20 of us there. A lot of us have our kids with us. We'll have anywhere from 2 to 8, 10 head of kids there with us every weekend. And they're riding on the box. They're catching dogs. The older ones, like my daughter, they're on the box with the gun, getting ready to shoot. And it's an event like nothing else. People that have never done it really don't understand it, and it's just a passion that we have down here.
Oh, sounds like. What's your seasons like? How does your season run?
So our gun season in Georgia coincides with dog season. So it comes in the third Saturday of October and runs to the second Sunday of January every year.
Oh,
so we get a good 3.5 months, almost 3 months.
And what's your weather like down there? Hot and humid?
Hot and humid. October, first part of the season through November. We're lucky if we get under the 80s.
Jeez.
Every now and then it'll cool off in the 70s for us. December, usually most time mid 60s, or lower 70s. And then right toward the end of deer season in January, we might finally get a cold front and get some freezing weather. This year we had, I think, 3 days in the 20s as a low. highs in the 40s. But most of the time the cold weather hits us, deer season's going out. So we don't get a whole lot of cold weather hunting down here.
When y'all turn out, how many dogs you usually got on those deer?
So depending on if we're free casting or if we're turning out on the track. So if we're turning out on the track, 1 or 2 trail dogs to start it. And then I haul 7 dogs almost every day. I've got 10. So I alternate some, and I've got a couple young dogs I'm training. But so we'll turn out 6 to 8 dogs on one race. And if they don't get something going pretty quick, within 25, 30 minutes, somebody might go on the other side of the block and turn their pack out on a different track or just hope to get on something. And the dogs will pack together. They'll hear that other pack if they jump and go to them. So we've had as many as 15 or 20 dogs on one race. And still, even with that many dogs, deer going to be anywhere from 100 yards to 500 yards ahead of them. That deer knows where he wants to go to escape, and the dogs are chasing him. So they still have a pretty good chance, even with that many dogs behind them.
A lot of deer get away. I mean, what's your success rate, you think?
We killed 28 deer this year in front of dogs at my club, and we hunt 15,000 acres. So we didn't put a hurting on them at all. I missed 2 or 3. I know clean misses. My wife missed one. All of my buddies, whether they will admit it or not, they missed a couple along the way, because this is happening bang, bang fast. You've got a road that's wide enough for 2 trucks to pass. You're waiting. You've got to see the deer hit the road, recognize it's a deer you want to shoot or pass, and then throw up and still have time to get on him and get a good shot off. So it goes pretty quick
Like
when the race
shooting.
get going. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
I got to ask, if you're running deer, what do you consider trash?
Coyotes and hogs down here. We've got a big hog population down here, and coyotes are prevalent just like they are everywhere else. Our dogs will get off. We had one race this year. I know 3 packs of dogs ended up getting on this coyote, and it was one of the best races you'll hear. Right before dark, scent conditions are perfect, and they were scalding him, and we ended up letting him get away. We actually called the dogs off right at dark. Didn't even ever get a shot at him. And then they, every now and then a buck knows where the hogs are laying, and a buck will circle through, and a hog stinks bad enough. And there's sometimes you just can't break a dog from that. They're going to get on a hog every now and then, and we'll finish that race up too.
Do you? I mean, you talked about that coyote. So if you got a coyote race and you get a chance, do you, even though it's trash for you, you shoot that coyote in front of those dogs?
Absolutely, 100%.
And how about hogs? Would you do that if they come across the road? So
yes, sir. We shot them too.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, you don't see it's a hog and then shock your dogs for running a hog.
No, sir. And I think we had, of all the races we had this year, I think we had 2 trash races on the hog. So it's few and far between. The dogs know most of the time that when they're coming to the road, that they're on something wrong. And we do correct them. We can tone them. And hogs and coyotes obviously run completely different than a deer will in front of a pack of hounds. So if we realize it's a coyote circling, making those small laps in the woods, we'll tone our dogs, blow the horn. But if he comes to the road, him or a hog, we're going to win the race and get rid of him.
What you say? You tell the difference. How does a coyote run different than a deer in that country?
So coyotes down here tend to run really tight circles.
Like a fox.
Just like a fox. That's right. We don't get a whole lot of fox races. I can't think of a fox race we've had in the last several years, honestly. But a coyote will run the tight circles like a fox will, won't cross the road. A deer will make some big circles in a block, especially a good buck. And then they're straight lining. they're going to get through the woods. They're going to get out of the world and try to get where they can get away from the dogs. Whereas a coyote, he's going to make lap after lap after lap because he's staying just far enough ahead of dogs and not putting any pressure on him. So it's and a hog's going to stop and bay. Hogs can't keep up the pace. Our dogs aren't catch dogs or not bay dogs, but you can hear them when they stop. And if you've done it enough, you can tell the difference and know they're in a hog. And we'll try to get them off of that best we can.
Any bears in that country?
Yes, sir. We've got bears. There's 5 or 6 counties in my home area that have a bear season in South Georgia, and we kill a few every year. I've got buddies that've got some really good bear dogs, and we go with them 2 or 3 times a year. We only have 12 days of season. We have a Thursday, Friday, Saturday for 4 straight weeks, so we only get 12 days. But
you ever had your deer dogs trash on a bear?
I have not. We at my club, we don't have a whole lot of bears. We might have 1 or 2 come through, but I've never had one of my dogs trash on a bear, and I know they've been in an area where there's been one recently, and I've never had one get on one.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
Chris, you're quiet.
Uh-oh. He's muted again.
Your lips are moving, but nothing's coming out. It's not my fault. I don't think I muted you. Did I mute you? Maybe I did. Well, shoot. It does say you're muted. And it won't let me unmute you. Did you mute yourself? Chris, I'm sorry. I don't know. There you are. Now
Can
you
you hear
can
me now?
talk. Yep. Sorry.
Oh,
My
wow.
fault.
Did it to us last time too.
Well,
What kind of damage? I'm gonna kind of segue in for the other guy who wants to talk. What kind of damage those deer do to your dogs?
None. I've never had deer do anything to a dog. They've run in on a wounded one, that we've shot, and they'll bay a wounded deer. And we've had a few bucks tried to run at them, but usually they're smart enough to dodge. We've never had a deer get gouged. Never had a dog get stomped that I'm aware of. Most of the time they're too busy trying to get away instead of trying to turn on them. So we've never had an issue with an interaction.
so now, you got any more questions about deer hunting, Benny, or?
I don't know. Kind of
Chris?
like Arizona bear hunting. Everybody meets at like a spot, the convenience store, and then you see other people, and you get your stuff and get out there as fast as you can before the other guy gets there and finds a track or a rig. We might meet together, but we sure don't leave together. You'll see people trying to get out of there to get that first rig.
Oh yeah, and we hunt as a group, so we all work together, and of course we want to be the ones that get to turn out first in the mornings, but we try to share it and make sure everybody gets their chance.
I think Benny's having internet problems.
Technical difficulties. Okay, so you decided to go on a lion hunt out west out here.
Yep.
And, what did you expect? I mean, in your mind, you know how we anticipate things. I mean, what did you expect it'd be like?
I knew from reading several books and talking to a bunch of lion hunters that I've met through the years with the magazine, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to be tough, especially riding a mule. Never been a self-proclaimed cowboy. Not a whole lot of riding opportunities down here for me, but I knew the altitude would get me because, heck, we're right here close to the coast, Florida and Georgia, and we live at 300 or 400 foot of elevation.
Y'all got a lot of air down there.
We got a lot of air. So I knew it was going to be the hardest hunt of my life. I talked to my outfitter about it 2 or 3 times. Like I said, talked to some guys that had done it before. So I knew it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. But when I got out there and experienced the altitude, the mule, the snow that was completely unexpected, it was a whole nother ball game for a Georgia boy.
So were you don't have to say where you were, but were you up northern New Mexico or Arizona
We were
or Colorado?
in Arizona, north of Tucson.
Oh, so you weren't supposed to have snow, were you?
No, and that's what they told me Saturday before last. We truck hunted because of the snow coming in, and my guide told me when we got back down to 5,000 foot, he said he'd never seen that much snow that low. And me, I've seen snow twice in my life down here, and it was maybe an inch each time. So seeing a foot to a little over 2 foot of snow look like falling at 7 to 9,000 foot, that was a whole different experience than I was expecting.
Did you bump into many other lion hunters on the snow like that?
We were surprised, especially Saturday. We never bumped into another hunter, and we covered 3 or 4 mountains that day in the truck. Never saw another dog box other than a bird hunter.
When did you get on the mules?
So Friday before the snow, we rode. I think we rode 9 or 10 miles Friday, and got at the top of a saddle, cut a sub-adult small tom track, and dogs got on him and kind of got to go in a way that the guy didn't want to go, so he walked through there and got him called off. And actually, a friend of his called and had a good line tree about 2.5 hours away from us, and we were going to try to hotel and get to him because it was still early. It was before lunch. And his phone died. The other guy's phone died at the tree, and he didn't get the message that we were coming. And by the time he got his phone charged up for a call and we got signal again, he'd already let the line go. So that kind of wound up our day. We were already kind of back at the truck at that point. And then Sunday, we went back to the mules after the snow had finished, and did a mule hunt on Sunday.
It was hard, I'm sure. Was it much harder than you anticipated?
Yeah, I talk to people, and I tried. I'm a big boy, so I lost 50 pounds since I booked this hunt last year. I've been running, going to the football field, and running stadium steps, doing 2 or 3 miles a night, trying to get in shape. And there's nothing I can do down here to prepare for the elevation and snow, obviously. But the riding part on the trail, that wasn't too bad. The snow was a little rough. The cold didn't bother me. I can handle cold. But once we finally cut the cat track, and we got on a really good tom just by the track, and I'm going by what my guide said and my own eyes, it was a really nice track. We were probably 8 miles or so into the trail, and we crossed the creek probably 17 or 18 times back and forth, winding up the trail. And that was kind of a daunting task for me as somebody who hasn't ridden any kind of equine animal a whole lot in my life, and I probably should have anticipated and practiced a little more, got somebody to let me ride a mule somewhere. So the mule, knowing that I wasn't as confident as I needed to be, him being a little stubborn, that was a struggle for me. But then when they got on the cat, the excitement hit me. And then we started sidewalling a mountain with my guide going out, cutting a trail, and me trying to lead a mule across the side of a mountain at 7,500 to 8,000 foot. in all that fresh snow, that was a task that was very daunting to me. It's something I've never done before.
Benny can attest to that snow. It doesn't help, does it, Benny? I got a little bubble there. Where did that come from? Did you see
I
that?
think he came, I
Yeah.
think his phone read it. His phone read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, and that lion, I mean, where was he heading? Well, he was heading up a rough old mountain.
Yeah, he'd cut across that saddle and went down the side of the mountain and went into a canyon. And by the time we sidewalled and got to the bottom, the line had looked like went to the back of the canyon. We thought the guy initially thought they were treed, but they'd made a loss in a bunch of mud where the snow had melted on some rock. And by the time we got there, because I slowed us down, I'll admit it, it took me forever to get that mule and myself across that mountain. And I think it was like 3/4 of a mile, so the distance wasn't that bad. It was just that terrain that I'm not used to, and having a mule fuss and fight with me trying to pull him. But by the time we got there, the dogs kind of got back on the track and went probably another 3/4 of a mile back up the opposite ridge to a rock face, and the snow had melted completely around that, and there was nasty mud, and the dogs just kind of lost it in that scenario. And at this time, it was 3:30, and I think we were 10 or 12 miles from the truck. And my guide made the decision based on my abilities and the time frame to kind of call it that day and try to get back to the truck by dark.
Do you have an easier ride back to the truck? Did y'all take a shortcut or same way?
The trail that we were on, from what I was described, was kind of a figure 8, and when we cut the track, we were kind of at the middle. So we had to ride and walk, pulling the mule up 2 different ridges and going down both, which to me was just absolutely brutal. I mean, trying to go straight up with, my foot slipping on rocks and slipping in the snow. And I'll be honest, my mule got his foot caught in a log in the fork, had a fork on it, and his foot got caught in it. And he went to pick it up, and he hit me in the back of the kneecaps with the log, knocked me face first. And then he kind of stepped all over me as I'm wallering there trying to not roll off the side of that mountain. So I was just kind of beat, and I've always been a competitive type, played sports, super competitive. And I realized that I had met my limitations. I realized that I was way out of my depths on a hunt like that in that kind of conditions. So
See, Benny, how easy that snow hunting is?
Mm-hmm. I can have all that fun and not have to deal with the cold and the wet.
You can deal with rocks and tripping and all that good stuff without the snow.
Yeah, and if you're on the buddy system, sometimes you can watch your buddy fall off his horse and do a cartwheel.
I can do tricks.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, but tell me, you haven't rode before. How did just riding make you pretty sore?
Honestly, it didn't. I was surprised that, my inner thighs a couple days later were pretty sore, but I thought I'd be in a lot worse shape from riding that much and over that kind of terrain than I was. I was kind of shocked that it didn't do me as bad as it did.
So, was it the just the lack of oxygen and the steepness of the country that got to you mostly?
Yeah, mostly it was the elevation and the lack of oxygen and just the physical demands of trying to get through that snow and that terrain. That was just, I'm used to swamps. I've gone through waist deep water down here before, deeper, chasing animals and dogs, and but we're at sea level pretty much, and I can handle the thickest stuff down here, but that terrain up there was just something I've never experienced, and I realized I got to do a lot better training before I try something like that again.
Yeah,
I think the
you
only
said
way you can train for elevation is to get into elevation.
That's right. So, or wear one of those masks all those people wear to just limit my oxygen availability, and go running with that down here.
I got to ask you while it's on my brain. You said swamps. Do you guys got alligators down there?
Absolutely. We've got plenty of alligators.
That scares me.
We encounter several alligators every deer season, and of course plenty of moccasins and rattlesnakes and
rattlesnakes too.
everything you could. Oh yeah.
How about your dogs? Do you get them eat?
I've lost one dog in my life to an alligator. I've had several bitten by snakes. Most of the time it's a moccasin, and I keep some drugs in the truck and treat them. I've never lost a dog to a snake bite, thankfully, but I've lost one to an alligator in the past.
Moccasin bite worse than a rattlesnake?
Not really. They tend to swell up a good bit. They do get pretty sick, but with the combination of drugs that I keep in the truck, long as I can get them out to race, and they'll usually, every dog I've had bit finishes the race, believe it or not. He'll come out and his leg will be swollen, face will be swollen wherever he got bit. And I give them 2 or 3 different injections, and
you give dexamethasone?
Put them in a dog. Give them dexamethasone. Actually, give them a little epinephrine, and give them Benadryl, and start them on an antibiotic.
Yep.
Some of that stuff the vet association doesn't recommend really anymore, but it's worked for us for years, and we're going to keep doing it until we find something that works better. But
I carry Dex, and the vet gave me an antibiotic. I don't know the name of it, that doesn't have to be refrigerated. And
right.
3 cc's of Dex in the muscle, and 3 cc's under the skin, and then 3 cc's every day for 3 days. Is what.
Yep. We usually give Dex for at least 3 days, and I keep them loaded up on Benadryl pretty good. I use the oral suspension, the children's suspension, and give it to them orally every day, and the antibiotics for a week. And that little bit of epi, I touch them with just a little bit of epinephrine, and that seems to not let them get down as bad. That little adrenaline spike seems to make a difference as well.
Well, being an anesthesiologist, is that what you are?
I'm an anesthetist. I went to the PA route, so I'm an anesthetist.
What's the difference? I go off on these rabbit trails. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. So if you have the doctor who is the anesthesiologist, the MD, and then you have a mid-level provider, like if you go to a doctor's office and you see a PA or a nurse practitioner and not the doctor, I'm the mid-level in anesthesia. So I went to a specialty school for PA anesthesia. I'm the one that puts you to sleep, stays in the operating room with you the whole time, and wakes you up. And doctor comes in once or twice maybe and goes drinks coffee.
Okay, Chris, Benny, I got all my questions asked.
Those rattlesnakes are timber rattlers, aren't they?
We have eastern diamondbacks and timber rattlers.
They get big.
Yeah, we actually got a timber rattler in December this year, which is still kind of late even for us with our weather, that was about 5 foot long. So it's a pretty good sized timber rattler.
I think they're pretty toxic too. I think they're more toxic than most of our western diamondback or rattlesnakes.
Now, the easterns are pretty bad. I've seen a few dogs that didn't make it with a rattlesnake bite. None of mine, thankfully, but rattlesnakes seem to do the dogs worse than the moccasins do down here.
How about you? Have you ever been close to being bit?
I've been bit by some black snakes, just catching them, but never by a venomous snake. We've got a pygmy rattler, which is just a small, I think max length about 12 inches. I've let them strike at my snake boots just to see what they do, but I don't play with the big boys.
But you've never been surprised by one that was close to you or something?
I have been surprised by plenty. I've walked up on several moccasins laying in the, in the oak leaves or in the swamp floor, just kind of dry, and they're dark black, green. They blend in, and you'll see that mouth open, and you see why they get their name Cottonmouth, because all you can see is the white and the fangs popping out. And a lot of times like that during snake season, I'm carrying something on my hip to go ahead and take care of them if I wind up on them.
Oh, I bet. What is that you're carrying?
I've carried a judge for a while, but most of the time I carry just a 22 pistol and try to pop them in the head pretty quick.
Chris, this says you have muted yourself.
Sir?
No, I was telling Chris that he has muted himself. It says right there, guest has muted themselves. That's what it says. Guest has muted himself. Sorry. You pushed something somewhere.
No.
Well, there you
hear
are.
me?
Yeah.
I think it's this. It does it on mine sometimes where I have to unplug it, but on yours, it doesn't tell me that my mic's been cut off. So I don't know. I have to see if there's an update for my mic or find a different mic. Might just go to my iPhone. Everybody else's is a lot clearer than my GoPro. I don't know. It just shuts off sometimes, but it don't tell me on this one. On mine, when I use that StreamYard, it tells me I'm muted.
We usually have a bunch of questions. I'm kind of surprised you haven't.
I just listening. You guys answered or asked everything I would have asked.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Deer dogs,
I don't.
valuable.
Deer dogs?
Sir?
Are those deer
What was
dogs
that?
pretty valuable?
They can be. They don't get up in the price of where bear dogs and cat dogs get, but I've seen deer dogs, good trail dogs sell for high as $5,000. Had offers
I got a deer dog
$2,500
for $25. He's not supposed to be a deer dog, but he'll chase him.
Yeah, I've had some guys bring me supposed hog dogs that they can't get broke before. They can't do them nothing but run a deer. So I've tried them and had some luck with some of those in the past. But pretty much everything I've got now, I've raised on my own from my dad and I's bloodline, raised for puppies, and kind of got my own little kennel set up the way I like it.
Can a non-resident hunt with you guys?
Yes, sir. I have people come all the time and hunt with me. I've got a couple good friends in North Carolina. They've kind of started a tradition the last couple of years. They come the last weekend and hunt with us, and because their deer season goes out the end of December, and so they come hunt with me the last weekend of our season. So, yeah, non-residents can come, and we have a little guest fee. It's like $20 to bring a guest to ride with us, but that's nothing. So.
But they can shoot a deer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
License? What you said that you seen a deer dog sell for $5,000.
Yeah.
What makes a $5,000 deer dog? What qualities did he have that?
A good cold nose that can take a 10 or 12 hour or older track from a dirt road, long legs where he can push one, and a good head on him that makes him easy to handle. Because after seeing Arizona and out west and all the land expanse, which, if you hear about that all your life, how wide open the West is, even though we have 15,000 acres that we lease for our club, we're still surrounded by a couple still hunting clubs that we have great relationships with. But we still don't want our dogs on their property.
Yeah.
So we want a dog that's got a good head, that's either tone or horn broke, so you can stop them when you need to, keep them off other people's property. And that entails the difficulties that deer dog hunters are facing across the Southeast right now, is boundaries and, being able to get your dogs off other people's property. So that's a big thing we look for now, is a good dog that's broke, where we can blow the horn on the truck and he'll come to the truck, or you can tone him with the e-collars and get him to stop and come to you, and instead of being hard-headed like they were when I was a child, and if you're ever going to get him to stop.
You think so? I mean, if they got a deer up and going, and they're going into one of those other hunting areas, is it pretty hard to stop them? I would imagine.
It's really not, because we've got one block that's actually ours, that's on our club, but there's not a cutoff road on the other side of it. So we never intentionally turn out in that block, but every other block has a cutoff road. So before it gets to private property or the next club, we have a road where we can cut our hounds off. And most of us have spent enough time working with our dogs in the off season when they're young. If it's a cutoff road, or if it's a doe and we're not shooting a doe, when we get to the crossing, we can blow the horn, dogs hit the road, most of them will come jump in the truck and load up. E-collars have changed the way we hunt. I know it's changed the way a lot of hound hunters hunt, but the game wardens that I'm friends with around here have told us that collars have made a world of difference for dog hunting in Georgia. They get way less complaints from landowners, have a lot less conflicts and a lot less issues anymore. So let's say my dogs are running a doe and deer's crossed the Cowart Road, which is our boundary road to the next club. That's not ours. When I get there, or if my buddies are there and I'm across the block, I can hit the tone button on my Garmin, and when they're 50 yards from the road, I can start toning them. And when they get to the road, they know it's time to load up. My buddies can catch them, or I can catch them if I'm there, and it's pretty easy to stop a race.
I'll be dang. You guys got some big old bucks down in that country, some of those big old swamp bucks, we call them?
We've got some good bucks. In the county where most of the dog hunting takes place around me, I've killed a couple 125-inch deer, which are considered really big down here. Body-wise, though, 160 pounds is a really big deer. I mean, most of our bucks, and I'm talking about mature bucks, are 120, 130 pounds, if that. So we don't have a whole.
Before you go out in an area, do you know, like, say, man, there's a great big old buck in this patch right here, and he's out there, and you guys have hunted him for a long time trying to get him, and he's like that mysterious buck you can't get?
Absolutely. We've, just like everybody, no, I won't say everybody, but we run some cell cameras around the club. Just if we run out of tracks, we'll go to a camera, which we'd rather turn on a track, because just because you got a picture of him doesn't mean you're going to be able to jump him. And we had a really good 9-point on camera this year, and one little block that might be 80 acres, 90 acres maybe. And we turned on him for 3 weeks in a row. We hunt Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays at my club. And on Saturdays and Wednesdays, we run that deer, or tried to run that deer, for 2 or 3 weeks. And finally, the week after Thanksgiving this year, I had a picture of him. And I turned out and jumped a doe. A buddy of mine turned out at a different spot, jumped a doe. Another guy turned out, jumped a yearling. Well, one of my buddies said, I got to try it one more time. That buck's laying in there. Well, one of his dogs jumped, and we're sitting in a grown-up field that wasn't planted this year, agriculture field that's about 20 acres maybe. Excuse me. And that dog's running deer right to the field, and lo and behold, he jumped that 9 point, and he looked like a Rocky Mountain elk running across that field in the sunshine. My wife and my daughter were with me, and we were a couple stands down from where the deer was going and couldn't shoot. We were just watching the spectacle take place in front of us. And one of my best friend's dad was down the road on the stand and oblivious to what was going on. He was in his own little world, and we were hollering, talking on their CB radios, trying to get him to pay attention. Finally got his gun up as the deer was hitting the road, and he missed him. And I already had the truck cranked. I was already in hot pursuit, pulling up there, and we dumped 2 or 3 boxes of dogs on him. And we killed him about an hour later. After several of us had shot. I shot at him crossing the road, just flat out missed him. Another buddy shot at him. My wife knocked him down, hurt him pretty good. My daughter shot at him way too early. All she could see was a big buck coming. She made safe shots, but she just got way too excited, couldn't stand it. And then I shot him and knocked him down. My wife had already slowed him down considerably, and he made it about another 80 yards down the road, and my buddy's dad that had missed him to start with finished killing him, and we let him claim him, and he's getting him mounted. He was a very fine buck for down here in our area. So we get those, and most of the time they do get away. One like that, we don't get that many shot opportunities on, but it was just our day for that deer.
I bet that was exciting with everybody shooting at him and everything.
Oh yeah, and you get grown men squalling on the radio, especially me. Your voice gets a higher pitch, trying to tell people where you think the deer's going to go to get them ahead of it.
He's coming.
Yes, sir. And you're burning, rubber on dirt roads, giving it the gas and getting these trucks up to 50 or 60 miles an hour on the dirt roads, trying to get on a stand, trying to get ahead of him, and to see. We actually jumped a separate buck that race. The dogs split somehow, and we ended up killing the second buck as well in that same race. I don't know. My dogs and Power Wagon split. Some of his stayed with the big buck, and some of mine and some of his jumped another buck somehow, and we ended up killing him too on the same race. So that's fun times when it gets like that.
Oh, I bet. How many tags do you get? I mean, how many deer can you take?
You can kill 2 bucks and 10 does in Georgia. And
wow.
I honestly have never killed 10 does. I've never even come close. And we usually only kill maybe 5 or 6 does a year on our club. That everybody's there to listen to their dogs run and try to kill a big buck. Very few does and very few small bucks ever get killed.
I'll be dang. This sounds like fun, doesn't it, Benny? Wake up.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, sounds like an event.
It's definitely an event. I mean, you can turn out 5 or 6 times a day, depending on how many trucks are there with dogs, and you can get to see a lot of dog work on a good day's hunt.
Completely different than riding around on a mule and looking for a lion track, isn't it?
It's definitely a different experience, and I've always loved running dogs. I've killed bears with dogs. I've run hogs. I've run deer, obviously. I've coon hunted. I've got a squirrel dog that I squirrel hunt with. Mountain lion was about the last thing that was on my list to try to run with a hound, and I can say it was an experience of a lifetime to get to see it and watch some really good dogs work terrain that was unfamiliar to me and see how they work and stay close to the guide and the mules and hunt pretty close to the trails, and the handle that they had on those hounds to be able to call them off, because when we were coming out on that Sunday afternoon, we cut 2 more cat tracks, and he was able to call the dogs off, trying to get us out before dark. And the work and effort it takes to do something like that is very impressive. And I enjoyed that part of the experience more than probably I would have killing one, honestly.
Do you plan on going back? Are you going to try to do it again?
I'm gonna try to do it again. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of time, and because this trip was my 40th birthday present from my wife. She knew I wanted to go on one. I turned 40 this past November, so that was her gift to me for my birthday, and so I'll do it again one day.
Chris, you're still muted.
When you do it again, do you think you want to try different terrain, or just like you were there, or what do you
I
think?
I think I would try some different terrain. And honestly, with my inexperience out west, I don't know where I would look into going. I'd do some considerable research, which I did a good bit of research on this one, and was looking forward to the adventure and enjoyed it. It was tough. I called it quits, but I would probably try something different, maybe a different state, just to see something different.
Would you think you'd enjoy just hunting in snow? I mean, a typical snow hunt, driving around in a buggy or a sled or something, or would you rather go down and sit on a mule and ride circles in the desert?
Honestly, I think I'd like to try just some dry ground to start with again, because snow made things a lot different. And I know snow makes easier hunting just because of the scent conditions. I realize that because I know how scent conditions are here with moisture. And I know if you can cut a fresh track in the snow, it makes things a lot easier and usually a little bit better. But I'd like to see some true dry ground hunting, just to experience it and see it like that. And that was kind of what this was supposed to be. But, God had another plan.
I'm sure the guy you were hunting with said he could take you dry ground line hunting. He's about as good as they get, really.
I think he was taking them dry ground line.
Well, yeah.
It just snowed, and it just snowed. It snowed in Globe. It snowed down south on the border. It's been getting some weird snow here and there. And you would think, and we talk crap about snow, but snow in rocky conditions, not just roads and trying to cut a track, that's pretty tough. And in Georgia, they don't have big rocks and cliffs and mountains like we got here. And when I get people from back east, I swear they would rather roll boulders down a mountain or a cliff or off something than hunt. They love rolling boulders. I could sell a guide service just to go roll boulders.
It doesn't have to be a guy from back east. It can be a guy that was born and raised in southern Arizona rolling boulders.
You're right. You're right.
That John Clump, he spent an hour and a half or 2 hours up there rolling boulders off the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
Well, that was me. That first saddle we got to on Friday, there was snow up there. I think we were around 7,500 foot. And this was before the snow hit. While he was gone to try to pull the dogs off of that small cat track, I sat there and built a small snowman. I was like, I might not ever get to do this again. I sent a picture to my wife and daughter, drew their names in the snow, took some pictures. I was like, if I didn't think I would lose my man card, I might do a snow angel just for the heck of it. But that kind of experience, to me, never seeing it was pretty cool just to get to see it. So yeah, I can see the rolling boulders down a mountain as a fully own experience. Yeah, for us that's not used to
it. Rick Cooley asked, do you use shotguns or rifles when you're deer hunting with dogs? I think you said shotguns.
Yeah, we use shotguns with buckshot. There are some clubs that allow rifle hunting. And obviously, people are very careful. They're shooting on a big, wide open clear cut, freshly cut timber where there's no roads or people behind them. And they're not shooting down a road most of the time with people with them or down the road from them. So some clubs do use rifles, but our club just elects to shoot shotguns only.
And that buck, how old do you think he was?
That deer was probably 4.5, 5.5 years old, which is pretty old deer for down here.
I'll be dang. Guys,
That was a lot of information.
man, it makes me want to go deer hunting in Georgia.
Come on down
What is-
sometime. Well,
I'm
you can
curious
come.
about the scent. The scent.
Yeah.
Is it like bear? Everybody knows bear's stinky, and it's easier to run a bear than it is a lion. How is deer? Is it? They got them glands. So is it easy tracking? You know.
It depends on, just like anything else where y'all run a bear and lion, the conditions. If it's dry and hot, and all we've got's pine trees. We've got a lot of planted pines because we lease from timber companies. So we've got just a lot of switchgrass and sawgrass under planted pines. So there's not a lot of scent holding capability there in the dry conditions. So you can watch our dogs in some openings, and some of them, if they're cold nosed enough, they're going track to track to track. But when it's moist, when the conditions are just right, there's enough of the scurf, whatever that falls off of the animal that are on the bushes. And obviously a buck in the rut, our rut's right the 1st of November here. Rut and buck stinks worse than anything else. And that's when we have our best luck killing bucks, is in the rut, because they just smell a lot worse. And you get a lot better rates. But
Excuse me, guys. I'll be right back.
But it's just
Body
like
break.
anything else. That's what we train these dogs for. When we've got young dogs, we'll drag deer hides for them, cross yards, through the woods. And I just take young dogs 6, 7 months old to the woods with an older dog and just slowly introduce them, and they just take to it, just instinct, just like a dog's supposed to.
Yeah, I think Benny should start a dry ground mountain lion hunting club and see how that goes.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Well,
Benny?
It would be infiltrated by U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
That probably would be. You guys got a lot of what? So what's your game warden situation over there as far as, bait? Like, you guys can bait, and like with bears here, they try to catch you baiting or using cameras because we're not allowed to use cameras no more. What's your no-no? What's your no-nos deer hunting?
Deer hunting, you can't hunt from public county roads. Can't hunt off of the highway.
Do you guys rig?
So, no, we don't rig, but we can turn out. So, we've got dirt roads that intersect our club that are county maintained. They're not the private timber company roads. So we can turn out on those. Like, we find a lot of our tracks on those, and we'll turn out. That's fine, but you can't have a gun on that county maintained road. So we can't do any shooting there. We can bait. Deer baiting is legal. Cameras are legal. A lot of clubs have gotten to where and again, because of this lack of food that we have with the way the timber industry is, they'll have baiting stations across the club, and we've done it before. We run community feeders where you're not allowed to hunt on them still hunting, but we'll run 10 or 12 feeders across the club all year with cameras on them just to feed the deer and keep them coming. And if we do run out of tracks and have a good buck on camera like that one I was telling you the story of, we'll go turn out at that feeder and hope we can get on him. But most of the time we've got so many does, it's hard to get on that one particular deer.
Yeah, Chuck Miller said they stopped allowing cameras in Arizona. It's not illegal to have cameras. You can't use them for hunting purposes.
Yeah, I asked that question when I was out there.
So all of a sudden, everybody's a wildlife photography enthusiast.
Yeah. That's what I was told. Said as long as
Yeah.
you're doing wildlife photography, you can have a camera out. I think I'd be a
Oh yeah.
wildlife enthusiast myself.
Yeah. Yep. So
That's
talking about
exact on that
cameras.
last podcast I was on. That's exactly what the guy was talking about. That they outlawed those game cameras. Now everybody's a wildlife photographer.
Hmm.
Yep. So far, they hadn't outlawed those here, and they actually legalized baiting. I don't know, 7, 8 years ago here. So
What is
that's
uh what is your situation with your antis over there? Like over on the west, of course, they want to get rid of hounds because we chased poor little kitty cats.
we in Georgia ourselves. We don't have honestly a whole lot of anti issues, especially in our neck of the woods. We're in very rural Georgia, big, huge tracts of land. We have very few issues with any anti hunting whatsoever. Now, when you go farther up the East Coast in the Carolinas and Virginia, you're getting a lot of anti issues up there. Everybody's seen it on social media where Virginia's in the fight of their lives to keep their dog hunting rights alive up there. And they don't have the tracts of land that we do down here. And that's where we're blessed right now. We're pretty well off in the dog hunting community currently.
But that's because of the timber industry, right?
A lot of it is the timber companies have these big, vast tracts of land, and other than hunting and cutting the trees off, there's not a whole lot of income for years on end waiting on a pine tree to get big enough to cut. So when they can find people like us that's willing to lease it every year to hunt off of, that's just another income source for them. And for the most part, the majority of the timber companies are more than supportive of hunting with dogs on it.
A lot of information, a lot of good information. I'm glad you came on.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
like getting
amazing.
other states, to find out what's going on in another state, how different it is, and
Yep.
how what you coming over here getting a hunt in some pretty, I don't know what kind of terrain you'd call it. It's very strenuous to hunt in. If you're not
Mhm.
used to it, so kind of need to get your outlook on it.
Yeah, and like I said, that was probably the best part of the experience, was just to get to see a different lifestyle of hunting with dogs and hunting in general. And my guide looked like a billy goat going across the side of that mountain pulling his mule, whereas me, I looked like another mule trying to
Them,
lead a mule getting across there.
them young guys.
Yep.
That's all he does, though, right, Brett? You know him. You know him more than any.
Oh yeah, he started hunting. I mean, I could tell you stories years ago. Me and Benny both. He was just a big old kid. Never been on a mule before when he rode with me first time and fell off. I teased him.
I wonder where he learned that from, huh, Benny?
The old mule, the girth had loosened up, and we ran a bear up a canyon, and I don't know, I took off or something, and I heard back in behind me, and I knew it didn't hurt him. I just turned around and said, "Get back on that mule right now."
Tying it up. Let's go.
I lost my beanie. I was wearing a beanie because it was cold. It got caught in a tree limb and fell, and I'm like, I'm so far behind right now, I'm not even turning around and getting off this mule. The heck with that thing. I put my hat on.
It's when it's like one of those times when you just like, man, is this really worth it? You get in that.
Is it like drinking too much, and then at the end you're like, I'll never drink again, and then it starts wearing off, you're like, I got to get back there and do some more hunting.
And that's a perfect example, because last week I was like, I'm never going back. The heck with that. I've seen it, I've done it. And now this week that I'm back at the real job, I'm like, I might could try to do that again.
Yeah.
You will. And you had bad condition. And there's nothing worse than trying to dry ground lion hunting snow on mules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was,
Especially in that terrain.
yeah. You can't control what Mother Nature puts out there, and that's just the luck of the draw for me this go round. So chalk it up to better luck next time.
Have you ever Benny? Have you ever deer hunted like that, Benny? Legally?
No, no, no. My dogs that deer hunted like that got a stump, and they just get stomped.
You know, when you hear that they're chasing deers with hounds, it's crazy because your dogs take after a deer and they're getting a little stimulation. You know,
Yep.
those old collars are. So when you hear people like, "Yeah, we run deer," you're like, "Jeez, it's kind of crazy."
I had a dog that would actually sneak off until he thought he was far enough away, and he'd start running deer, opening up on the track. And I could lay him down in the dirt and lay him down in the dirt and lay him down in the dirt, and it did not matter. And I thought, he'd quit a lion track to chase deer. And I thought, you knucklehead. So there was a guy from northern Utah came to the house. He was looking for some dogs, and I sent Joe to northern Utah to hunt some bears or some lions in the snow where they could keep a closer eye on him.
Did
Did it work?
You know, he still talks to me now and then, so I guess
Maybe he sold them to a Georgia fella.
I remember when I bought Lily, back then I paid $2,500 for her, and that was a lot of money it was a lot of money for me, but it seemed like a lot of money for a dog, and she's supposed to be pretty broke, and I bet I didn't have her out there 3 days, and I was riding right up there past my camp. Man, they went up and started trailing. I thought, oh man, that's Lily. They're on a good lion track. They're really moving it. And I mean, all of a sudden, wah, wah, here they come. And I mean, the biggest, and it was a whitetail buck. It wasn't a mule deer buck in our country. We got both. And I mean, a big old ruddy whitetail buck came across the road. I thought, man, this is the same problems I've had with all my other dogs. They didn't cost me $2,500.
Except it cost you some money.
So you've seen it. It can get a little exciting.
Oh, that was exciting. It was. Yeah. I mean, and I seen the buck. I bet he ran 15 feet from me, right there across the road, right in front of my mule.
Well, not only is the deer hunting kind of strange, it's the hunting with other people kind of strange. I was just telling Benny Brett he should start a dry ground lion hunting club. See how that goes.
Yeah, with Benny in it.
Yeah, leading the charge with his spear. It's just crazy.
Well, that's what I noticed. I noticed that out west, that the competitive nature, especially after that snowfall on Saturday, of the talk of having to get up at midnight or 1 a.m. and get up on the mountain and try to get to a track before everybody else could get to it. And it's pretty competitive, and it's every man for himself, seemed like.
So they talked about that. They thought there'd be a lot of rigs out there looking for tracks.
Yep.
As soon as it snows, you can go sit on the I-17 or the I-10, or come and you'll see a bunch of dog boxes coming up. And these are people that I'll try to defend it a little bit, is when you have to work, because dogs ain't cheap. You should know that. And you don't get time off. When it snows, you're going to go, because that's your best chance to catching a lion, is in the snow, because you know what they're chasing. But if you're only running every month or a couple times a year, you need to have that track to know what your dogs are chasing.
Yeah, I understand that.
Twice, about a mile there. Looking at the comments, Georgia has so many deer they allow 12 deer a year, 2 bucks and 10 doe. That sound right?
That's right.
Wow.
Something else.
I heard in Texas, I think when you buy a hunting license, they give you 5 deer with the license. You
So
know,
do you?
Kill a
That
bunch out there.
that depends on the county, Chris.
oh,
All of that comes on your on your license, but whether you can use them legally or not depends on the county.
gotcha. Well, I
So
know Arizona needs some deer. We're low on deer. We don't have as
we
much
are
deer
too.
back there, but we don't have the water, you know, that you guys have back there.
Well,
I bet
we got,
you within 5 miles you have a river or a stream you can go to right now.
oh yeah, there's a river about 4.5 miles from my house, and we've got a little over 1,000-acre lake that's a mile through the woods from my house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you fish?
Spoiled.
Oh yeah, we fish. I've got a small 16-foot boat that we bass and panfish out of. Actually sold my dad's saltwater boat. My dad passed away 3 years ago, and we fished on the Gulf Coast out of Florida several times a year. I grew up doing that as well. So I've done a little bit of saltwater and freshwater fishing all my life. So
Not a dang. Do you like venison? Do you like to eat deer?
absolutely, we between me, my wife, and my daughter, we killed 11 this year, and we've got a freezer slam full. We actually had lasagna made with deer burger tonight, so we eat
Not a
deer
dang.
meat year round.
I bet.
What are you cutting it? How are you cutting it up? Mainly burger.
We get a good bit of burger just because that's what my wife likes to cook with a lot. I keep the back straps out whole. I do a bunch of different things with the back straps, and I will cut up some steaks out of some of the muscles in the hams. I love my cube steak now. I get a lot of cube steak made, do a lot of different ways with cube steak, but burger's predominant, and we get a good bit of sausage made as well.
You
Where'd
ever
you say in
bottle any of
Georgia
it?
you were located?
I am in Lanier County, Georgia, which is Lakeland.
You ever bottle any of
Florida.
your deer?
I have never done that. I've seen it on the internet, but I have never tried that before.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I just ate some deer meat from 2010.
Really?
I swear. I
Was
fed
it
some
good?
lion hunters. Oh yeah, made some tacos with it.
How long ago did you eat that?
Just 2 weeks ago when I was down
Oh.
there hunting on the border. I fed it to them Texans, and I didn't let them know it was that old until after they were done and said how good it was. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just like drinking green moonshine.
You know, we're going to have to get into that story one day. Brett, every time you bring that up, Brett just, that look Brett gives is crazy.
Well, he's still going to the mental doctor, and he's not telling.
I muted him.
That does it on its own.
Oh me.
Well,
What
What
else?
else you do? You don't just run hounds, obviously. You fish, and what else you got going on out
Puts
there? in
people to
Georgia?
sleep.
Yeah, we turkey hunt. Turkey season will be coming up here pretty soon, so we'll get ready for turkey season. Do a lot of dove hunting. We got a bunch of ducks down here, but I've never really got into the duck hunting scene. But my daughter's gotten big into basketball now, so we're head deep in basketball season and training and all that stuff and working out every day. So, she keeps us rolling. We both work full time, run the magazine, which is a almost full time business in itself, and keep her
How
on.
How do we get subscribed to that? If you throw out
You can check us out on southernhoundhunting.com. There's a subscribe link right on top of the homepage. But if you're passionate about hunting anything with dogs, we've had several mountain lion hunting stories in there. We've got a guaranteed bear section in every issue, hog, deer, all the small game you can hunt. And our next issue is actually dedicated to nothing but the kids. We always have a hound hunting kids section. but we're dedicating our spring issue to the entirety as kids. So we've got a bunch of kids getting their stories ready and pictures, and from front to back cover, it's going to be all kids and their hunting stories and their hounds. So,
You do a lot of gator hunting, or do you do any at all?
I've done it. You down here, gator is a quota hunt. You got to get drawn, picked. I've been picked once or twice and gotten a tag. But we get a lot of nuisance gators too. So
I see that smile.
we
They get too close to the house or something, they're a nuisance?
We have them a bunch at our hunting club. We've got a ton of water in our hunting club, and we run up on them quite often during hunting season. So sometimes they disappear.
You know Scott from Bad Boars?
I do not.
I'll have to check. I didn't know you had a magazine. I just seen you posted how tough your hunt was over here, and I thought it'd be a good story that a back east guy came over here and not only hunted in the snow, and I imagine, I wonder if Bensie's like, yeah, we got some snow. It's going to be easy to maybe find a track, and it still sounded tough.
It was tough, you know, and on y'all, it would have been nothing probably. That track would have been finished up with a shot under a tree, but with a newbie and somebody that was not quite prepared for that kind of stuff, you know, it wound up like it did. So, and it's like I told him, I have zero regrets. You know, I made my peace with that pretty quick, and I told myself I did it, went, saw it, experienced it, and I came home to Georgia a few days early. I don't regret it. I was happy to come home.
What if you go again? What kind of preparations are you going to do to be able to go again? What do you think?
Probably lose another 50 pounds. Do a lot more running. I will research some ways to try to prepare for elevation without having it here. I could go, you know, North Georgia is a 5 or 6 hour trip. We do have some foothills at Appalachians up there. I might can make a few trips and do some trails and stuff like that. And I definitely do a lot more riding. I have some connections where I could do a lot more riding than I did, and I should have. So I would definitely prepare for all aspects of the hunt a lot better than what I was this time.
Was your mule kind of hard to handle? You talked about having to pull him around stuff. Was he not wanting to follow well, or what was the deal?
I don't think he wanted to follow me because I don't think he trusted what I was doing and where I was going, honestly.
Really?
And a couple times, you know, God had to grab the lead rope and help me through some stuff, and just part of inexperience on my part more than anything, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine that the mule he had you on was probably an older mule that he could trust with somebody that's inexperienced. Even me and Brett have talked about how that mule you got follows somebody better than riding it. So if that mule's used to following a mule and they get off, you know, and old Bensie gets ahead of them, that old mule probably starting to be like, I don't know, I don't want to do this. You know?
And he told me, you know, he gave me a mule that he said was a little slower than the rest of them, and he was the biggest mule they had because I am 6'4", 290 now, so I'm not small.
Full grown man.
Yeah. So, and that's after losing 50 pounds, but so Big John and we were a good match because he was broad enough to carry me, but he was also a little slower, which was perfectly fine with me and my riding pace. But, you know, we struggled keeping up a little bit.
Well, since you work at the hospital, couldn't you save money and get a good deal on a portable Inogen, and you wouldn't have to worry about all of that?
Yeah. I thought about getting me some oxygen tanks to strap into saddlebags and hook up a mask to myself and make it a
Yeah.
little bit easier. But I figured that'd be hard to get on the airplane.
I think they sell them at the like sportsman's now. The little oxygen tanks you can take hiking. I know a lot of
Yep.
people that do that now. Mm-hmm.
I actually asked when we stopped at Sportsman's to get my tag. I saw him there, and I asked, and he said, "I ain't never seen anybody use that on a hunt." So my pride kind of got the best of me on that one. I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to be the first. Then I'm not going to buy any of that." So, in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have bought a can or two. It probably would have helped.
Did you think about that when you were up on the mountain?
I did several times. I was like,
Swallowed,
I could just reach
that
into this
pride.
saddlebag. Yeah. I was like, I could get a huff of oxygen right here, right now if I'd have bought a can, but you never know.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot of bird hunting down there. As far as I don't know what you got down there. A guy asked, any public game lands around your parts that allow dog hunting?
Quail hunting was huge here, and it's still a huge industry, but most of it's pen raised birds anymore. Again, with the way they cut timber and spray instead of burn anymore, wild quail coveys aren't what they used to be. I think right now, I know where maybe 2 or 3 wild coveys are, and where they are, you couldn't hunt them. It's a thick. If you were to shoot them, you'd never get them, even with a good dog. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of plantations with paid hunts for quail. We've got a great dove population, obviously migratory some, but we have a lot that live here, a lot of agriculture. So we have several good dove shoots a year. But as far as we got plenty of ducks, but as far as upland game, you're limited to the quail. And if you want to pay for some pheasants that are pen raised to shoot at some of these plantations, that's about it.
Man, I tell you what, we have lots of quail this year. Lots of quail everywhere.
I actually saw some on the trail ride. That was beautiful, one of the prettiest quail I've ever seen.
Seems like I was thinking because they outlawed trapping bobcats, I thought that it would really hurt our quail population. But there's as many as I've ever seen.
I seen quite a few this last year too when I was hunting. A lot of them.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yep.
Benny, what do you say? You look like you're ready to stomp somebody.
Yeah, my sheets.
You get tired?
We keep Benny up every Monday now.
Well, and I had a short night.
What happened?
Oh,
Just one of those deals. Just one of them deals. But
Chris had a short night too.
oh, I had a horrible night.
I always wanted to hear from somebody that ran deer with hounds, because I've heard about deer hunting with hounds, but I've never heard from somebody that did it. This has been interesting. I would like to encourage him, though, the next time he comes over this way to go lion hunting, tell your guide to take you to the desert with a cactus and experience
Down
the
low.
cholla, Arizona.
Oh, Choya's beautiful.
They from what I understand, he had been down in the Palancios, and I think they took a tom out of there too, on the New Mexico side, I believe. Maybe Arizona. Yeah, New Mexico side.
I'm pretty sure it's New Mexico side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that cholla is beautiful, and it'll go with you wherever you go.
Oh yeah, you'll take some home with you whether you want to or not, or try to. Oh, Choya. You know, if you get down low in the desert and hunt that 1,000, at 1,500 feet stuff, it might not be so bad on the oxygen.
That's what I was thinking. Get down low and be able to tolerate that a little bit better.
I was curious though, what kind of situation? What was the terrain where you had to get off and lead your mule?
Very rocky, and a lot of, I don't even know what you call them. They were low bushes. Some of them were up to chest high on me, maybe a little bit taller, but very rocky, very uneven, and there was some burned areas along the way a couple different times. So, but there wasn't any big timber. I know there's not a lot of big timber out there anyway, but there wasn't any ponderosas like I saw in a couple other places. Just pretty rocky for the most part.
Must have been manzanita bushes.
That might have been what it was.
Bunch of red stalks.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
That stuff gets
But he
thick.
told me, he told me, he said, to be honest with you, he said this was pretty rough country where we were at today, the up and down and trying to get through. He said it wasn't the easiest of places to hunt. I don't know if he's trying to make me feel better or just be honest with me.
He posted some pictures on his Facebook. That's how I found him.
Yeah, they saw one today. Like the clients after me got one today. Looked like.
Well, you were over there in
Go ahead.
What, Benny?
I said he was over there during that bad weather, all the storms and everything coming through there.
Yep.
It looked like he's in. You got some Kumonde too. You got to see a Kumonde.
Yeah, got to see that, and got to see a ringtail. Saw some coos deer and some Gould's turkeys, varmints I've never seen before. So I enjoyed all of that.
Well,
What else, guys?
he done said it all.
Questions in the comment section. We never did get anybody. Let's see. I think it was Timothy. Where did I get the email about
Mike Bency? Mike Bency was the guy, John.
About naming the podcast.
Oh yeah.
I got
We need a name
one.
for this podcast.
I know we don't have a name. We just call it Monday Night Live. Maybe that's good enough.
I like that.
There you go. Monday Night Live. What else? Any questions in the comment section?
I'm looking. I don't see too much. I think we answered them all. You have any gray foxes or bobcats in Georgia?
Yep, we got plenty of foxes and bobcats. We have fox pens down here for competition hunts and stuff, which a lot of it's coyotes now, but we do have plenty of foxes down here.
Do you ever catch a bobcat while you're down there with your deer dogs?
Never. My deer dogs have never run a bobcat that I know for sure. But funny story about that, I was turkey hunting a few years ago in a small little field and hadn't heard any turkeys yet. All of a sudden, I hear this roar coming to me, and it was two yard dogs. One looked like a bulldog, and the other one was just a dog. And they come across that field barking every breath, running one of the biggest bobcats I have ever seen. And they run him right past me, and he treed in a longleaf pine about 50 yards from me. And they stood there and treed that thing for a few minutes. And he finally jumped and ran. And I don't know if it was just me there, but they hauled tail, didn't get back on him. But I was like, that's the most random thing I have ever experienced. Two just junkyard dogs running a big old cat right across the road.
Do you have an address? I'll go buy them.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, a cat dog's hard to come by. These two might be worth some money.
Sure.
We've seen a bunch of bobcats down here. I've shot one before, but I've never actually got one with my dogs.
Top hat game, Cheryl Brooks. I'm very interested in somewhere to run bobcats, foxes. We want 35 to 40 hounds. If anybody knows a club where we can pay a guest fee, would be greatly appreciated. She's talking to Cheryl Brooks. Where are you guys located at?
What is you got some bobcat hound clubs over there, or is it just deer clubs? Or
Solid deer clubs, but we actually have people that join our clubs just to run fox and bobcat. They'll pay a full membership, and
Huh.
in the off season, they'll run fox and bobcat, and they'll come at night too. So there's no particular just fox or bobcat hunting clubs, but they do join ours for that. And like I said, we've got the fox pens. We've got one here in my home county. They just cut the timber in it and knocked a bunch of the fence down. So as soon as they're done, they've got to get to work on the fence and restocking it with game. But it's about 500 acres, and they'll pay trappers, to catch coyotes and fox and put in it and have competition hunts, and that's pretty prevalent around here, around home.
How does a coyote competition hunt? Do you know how they work?
Oh yeah, I've had a couple competition dogs, and I've covered several hunts for the magazine in years past. But so you pay to enter your dog, and it depends on what the event's for. Some of them are benefit fundraisers. We do a lot of them for people that are facing diseases and need money for medical expenses, or even some of the local football teams do one as a fundraiser for support for the football program. But everybody gets a number, and they usually dye it or paint it on the side of the dog, big, bold enough numbers where a judge can read it, and have great road systems in these pens. And you have 40 or 50 volunteer judges come and sit at different crossings throughout the club, and they turn out, depends on the size of the pen and what's allowed. I've seen as few as 50 turned out, and as many as 360 dogs turned out at once. And they'll split up and run. There'll be races going on throughout the whole pen, just various places. And the judges are judging dog 1, 2, and 3, as many as they can get to, and writing down the number. So
when they
if you've
come
got
through.
dogs, when they come through, when you see the fox coyote cross, and then you see dog 59, they write 59, and then dog 601, and then it's tallied up at the end of the hunt. And they're usually, again, depending on the hunt, anywhere from a 4 to 6 hour hunt. And sometimes there's 3-day hunt. They'll hunt 3 days in a row, and that takes a dog to do a good 3-day hunt. But they'll tally up the points at the end of the hunt and determine there's hunt and speed, and drive. There's different categories, and you have dogs, qualify in all 3 categories. And then they're passing out, and squirrel dogs trying to jump up here on me. And a lot of them have gone to dog food prizes now with a little money trophies, but obviously as expensive as dog food now is, that's a prized possession. So if you win first place in a good fox hunt, you might take home 10 or 20 bags of dog food.
Wow. Is there any arguments or anything? Is there any cussing the judges or?
Honestly, not a whole lot. There will be some disagreements and some people that, fuss about it, but most of the time the hunters that are entering their dogs aren't allowed in the pen during the hunt, so they don't know really what's going on. They can sit on the edges and hopefully see their dogs, along the fence, and kind of know how their dog's doing, but it's just the judges inside the pen. So it's not like a competition coon hunt where everybody's arguing at the tree and counting points. So they have to, at a fox hunt, they have to go at the judge's discretion and believe what the points tallied up was what they actually saw.
They don't ever jump up and down and say, "The judge is blind. That was my dog."
I've never seen that. So
bunch of gentlemen down there. They do that out here, we'd be pulling out guns.
What about the dog fights?
Dogs themselves don't get in a whole lot of fights, but they will corner a coyote a lot of times. And they have guys on side-by-sides and even some guys on horses. That's their job, is to rove the fence line and that's where most of the encounters happens, on the fence line, when that coyote just gets in a bind, and they try to get there immediately, and they'll have dog boxes, and they'll catch coyote and put him in the dog box to protect him
I'll be
because
dang.
they've paid good money to get him in that pen and to be able to hunt him. So if the dogs are catching him or whatever, they do their best to protect the coyote. They'll get him out, give him time to rest, take him out to hunt for the day, and then put him back in the pen once the dogs are out.
Give him a drink of water and give him a little bit of wet dog food.
Yeah. I've watched him ride a coyote around for 4 hours in the back of a dog box just like he was a ham.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
these all pin raised dogs, right? Coyotes?
Coyotes, pen raised coyotes?
Nope, these are all, for the most part, wild caught. People catch them in rubber draw traps and live traps, and they'll transport them to the pens. They're not pen raised. They're in these pens, and I've asked some of my buddies that are way more prominent in the sport than I am. You very rarely see a litter of pups from a coyote in a pen.
Oh, why is that? I wonder.
I don't know if it's a food source, which they pour dog food. They have automatic dog feeders scattered out through these pens, and they feed them, just as good as we do our hounds at home. So I don't know what it is, if it's just the stress of it being run a good bit, because it's just not the hunts that are run. People, if you're not a member of that club, you can pay so much per dog and you can go run. Like when I had mine, I would go to the fox pen here 2 or 3 times a week and just run my fox dogs in the pen.
Well, they pay quite a bit of money to bring for trapped coyotes, don't they?
I don't know what the going rate is currently, but I do remember a few years ago they used to pay $75 to $100 a head for them.
I'll be dang. Benny shakes his head. No, why? I remember when their hides were bringing $75 to $100 a piece.
Yeah.
It's just a different mindset than mine.
How come that doesn't surprise me?
I bought a dog with his sole purpose is just to kill coyotes.
Yeah. Well, they brought out the competitive nature in this way and give everybody a chance to see who's got the best dogs. So they want to keep them alive as long as possible.
I bet it's hard judging it, though. I would hate to be a judge. I bet that's a tough deal.
It can be. But as long as you can see the numbers, it's really not that bad. They'll come out a pretty straight line. Sometimes they'll be jumbled up. And most time they only try to get the top 4 or 5 dogs, so they ain't got as much to keep up with. But you get the lead 2 or 3, then after that it gets a little difficult.
How long does the deal last?
Anywhere I've seen 3-hour hunts and I've seen 6-hour hunts.
And they're running that coyote around that pen for that long, or?
It won't be the same coyote. The dogs will break off of one, and they've got all kind of holes dug out there for the coyotes. They've got pipes for the foxes. They've got old refrigerators sit out there that they've burrowed under, and if they get stressed or get to the point, they know where they can go hide, and then the dogs are hunting a fresh one. So they're not running that one individual animal for 6 hours. There's plenty of game in there. I've known pens to have 200-300 fox and coyotes in one pen.
Oh, really? So there's lots of them to run.
Oh yeah, there's plenty, and that also helps protect the animals as well, because when there's that much game in there, they're not just going to run one single animal until he's stressed out and can't go anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Crazy.
That's a new world.
Yeah. Deers, coyotes, everything we try not to chase.
Yeah.
I used to chase a lot of coyotes. I had those stag hounds, those sight hounds, and we used to run them, and of course we let them catch them if they could.
Well, I've always wanted to do that. I've seen that on social media with the guys running wide open in the truck and dumping the box out on a coyote or something like that. That'd be right up my alley, I think.
I used to do
So
it
is,
on horseback,
Oh, wow.
and I caught a lion that way one time
Oh, wow.
with my stag hounds.
That's
It was,
impressive.
well, it was a accident, really. It surprised me. I got a video. There's a video on my YouTube channel, and I think I called it Last Hunt of the Year or something like that. Where
All right. I have to go back and look for that.
yeah, it was from like there was a guy over in Arizona. This is kind of another thing that kind of got me making videos. There was a guy named Dave Carlson. Do you remember him, Benny? Or he's kind of a character. I mean, this guy made these report cards. He trained dogs for people, lion dogs, and he take these and he did like a video report card of the dog that he was training for him, and then he started selling these tapes that he had or DVDs. It was before the internet or before YouTube or anything like that, and I bought some of them because I was interested in lion hunting and everything, and this guy was a character. So I had some guys ask me one time, well, how do you run these coyotes on horseback with your dogs and everything? And they said you should make a video of it. So I had my wife go into town, buy me a little video camera. I said, buy me one of those cameras, and I'll make a video. And I went out there, and in the video, I'm all pretending I'm some kind of fancy outdoor film guy. You know, it was before YouTube or anything, and I'm talking to the camera and saying whatever. And, oh yeah, and I'm riding my horse, and I set up a predator call. This is the way I used to, because we don't have. It's not like back in the Panhandle or Oklahoma or Iowa or wherever they have all these big open spaces where they could run them. That I had smaller open spaces. So what I had to do is try to lure a coyote into the open so that dogs could get good and sighted and go get him caught. So I would find a little patch of mesquite, and I'd get in there with my horse, and those dogs, if you watch the video, you'll see those dogs. How many times I'd done it with them. I put that predator call out there, and those dogs would just stand like that, just looking, just scanning, waiting to see a coyote come across. Well, we were riding between stands, and the dogs took off, and I'm running through there, and I'm filming with my camera, and the horses jumping over bushes and stuff. And I said, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to see the race, but I think they got him caught or something. I forget what I say. And then I get up there, and it's a dang lion, and those dogs are rolling around with that lion on the ground. And I don't know why I don't know why I said it. I said, oh, I don't know, but I got to get him. I was all pumped up, man. I just jumped down. I got a little 22 pistol. I'm trying to put it on the lion's head and shoot it while they're all rolling. It wasn't a big lion. It was a small lion. It was a little, sub-adult lion, but it was out there in the desert, and by golly, it was a lion, and I was excited.
I don't blame you. I would have been too.
So anyway, yeah, and I filmed it all, and I made a video of it. It's kind of crazy.
On VHS. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was on VHS. Did you see it over? I sent one to David Heiss. Did you see that one, Vinny?
My house. We used to get together, and I would rent the UFC fights, and David Heiss would come over and pay for half. And one night he brought that tape over. He said, "Hey, you got to watch this."
I sent that tape to a bunch of people. I was pretty proud of myself. I put music to it and all kinds of things.
You got that transferred up on a channel?
Yeah, I can probably show it if y'all want to see it.
How long is it?
It's not very long. That dog's pretty fast.
Yeah, those are running dogs.
Hey, what is everybody using walkers, or you guys got an assortment of dogs everybody uses over there?
We're using a bunch of walkers. There's a couple clubs. Guys use some beagles and some half walker, half beagle mixes, but primarily my club, we're all using long-legged running walkers.
How big are those pins?
The one here is a little over 500 or 600 acres. I've seen one 1,100 acres. I think the biggest one I've seen is maybe 1,500 acres.
A lot of fence.
A lot of fence. A lot of upkeep.
Just chain link, or what are they? What kind of fence? Because them old coyotes can climb.
They put a hot wire out around it, the whole perimeter,
Gotcha.
and train them that way. So they're usually 6, 7 foot high. I know the coyotes can climb, but with that hot wire around it, it usually prevents a lot.
There's Calvin. There's Calvin sneaking in late.
He must be working late. Let me see if I can share my screen, guys. See if I can figure out how to do this. I always have a hard time doing it. So you see my screen?
Yep.
See, and then I got to pull this up. They got him. They're right over there. They got him. Look at Rat. He's right on him. All the dogs getting ready.
CBV TV.
Long time ago.
Short. Is that a short ear?
This is the Hornado.
That was one of my roping horses. Matter of fact, I was just training him.
In that direction right there. Watch this. There's a rabbit right there. See him going? Dogs don't even have
I'm such a goober.
We're gonna go get him jump. Let the dogs run him. They can't catch him. There he goes. There he goes. Watch him. I squeaked him on him, but they never seen him.
Anything that would run from them, those dogs would chase it.
You'll get something up in here. There's some coyotes up around the little.
When you're not
There's a water
concentrated
tank
on
right up here.
one
Right
thing,
over
it's
this
kind of
ridge, there's a
fun.
little bit open country.
Yeah, I
Fence
mean,
and a gate.
of course, you'll see here in a minute, I was using a predator call.
I believe there's quite a few coyotes just right around that corner there. See if we can talk one into coming in.
Was the line
There's a
coming to
pretty
the
good little
predator
open
call?
area right over there.
I guess so. I never could figure that out. I think so.
Brush in there.
Had to
There's a
be.
little stop tank right here. Looks like there might be another one over there.
You can see in the distance, see
You
the
just
big open
sit on your
area?
horse?
Set the call.
Yeah,
out
I'm on my
there.
horse. But there's those big
Rock
open
call
areas,
out in
and I would go out there and I'd try to make the
Into
call, or
it.
set up the call and try to lure a coyote into those open areas so the dogs
Set
could
a
catch
hill
him.
there.
And a lot of times it was just like a ambush. The coyote didn't even know I was coming hardly, because it was
gate right
just
over
a
there, about
surprise for them. They were
quarter
coming in to
mile.
eat a jackrabbit,
Truck looks
and
like
this
about,
is back in the 80s, I guess,
2 miles over here.
maybe the 90s, wasn't it?
Dogs ran a couple rabbits.
See, there I am.
A little tired, just warmed. Here we go.
Now watch that old Joe dog. Watch him looking for a coyote.
So they would just stay there and wait, your dogs?
Yeah, they knew. They knew to look
I
for
see.
coyotes. I mean, we had done it enough where they knew something was going to come in, or they hoped it would.
Man, I
They
always
knew when
wanted
you
to
hit
do
that predator call, it was time to work.
Yeah, they knew. First couple times, it was kind of hard on my predator call.
Done this before. They're looking.
Now that's desert.
It's a pretty good area right here.
that all sand?
Yeah, we were jumping
It's just
jackrabbit.
kind of hard packed
Maybe one
dirt.
coyote.
And after a rain, you don't want to drive out
Dogs
there.
sure act like they think there's something up here.
Think?
It's terrible. Short ears.
40.
Kind of slow paced compared to my new videos.
How big's that opening? How big would you think it is?
You know, I don't know. It depends on which way you go. It's kind of, odd shaped. I know there was a patch of mesquite that went right down the middle of it. That's where I tried to get inside that and use the call.
Gotcha.
Must have rained harder out here than anywhere else. That's a pretty good stock tank right there. Yep. Guys, they got him. They tackled one.
I'm excited
I was
here.
sitting there at the stock tank looking, and there goes Joe, and he's got him, and I think they got him over here.
You thought it was a coyote?
No video of the
Yeah.
cars, but maybe we'll get some of the fight. We're on our way. Oh, they got him. They got him. They're right over there. They got him. Look at Rat. He's right on him.
I was excited. Rat was a young dog.
Good dog.
They're fighting, aren't they?
Oh, what the hell is it? It's a damn mountain lion. They got a damn mountain lion.
I did not fall off.
Oh, you mad?
Damn, guys. I can't believe this.
This ain't
gotta
no
get him,
stabilization on them old cans.
No.
So you're trying to hold a VHS camera, a pistol, and get up to a mountain lion
And a horse.
Watch it, Joe.
and a horse.
There's the horse.
Joe, no.
Do you think they would have killed that lion by themselves?
Oh yeah, that
Lord
dog
mercy.
right there would have. That
Whatever.
dog weighed about 110 pounds and was a rough sucker.
Look at the muscles on that dog. Anyway,
Look how good that horse is.
minus the ears.
That Joe dog was bad. There's Rat. He had some cuts on him. There you go.
That's pretty
Anybody
neat.
listening, if this makes the podcast and you're listening to W Podcast, you're gonna have to go check out Brett's video,
I'll have to cut
The
it
dogs.
out then.
chasing a lion.
But who am I? I got something going on here.
Clan of Houndsmen. There's the name. Everybody's throwing some names out again.
Clan of Houndsmen.
Sand pounders, because we're dry ground. We're pounding sand.
Do you remember what year, Benny, that was, that video?
No, I sure don't, Brett.
It was a long time ago.
It was
But
a long time ago.
I was ruined after that. I mean, every day after that, I was thinking about mountain lions. I couldn't think about nothing else. It's crazy.
It's a
But-
good thing you didn't meet Williams back then.
Who? JR?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He was round that time. I'd seen that picture. Matter of fact, you hunted that ranch out by the Oregons, and I'd seen that picture in full cry of that lion up on that rock with Highway 70 in the background. And
Yeah.
the little caption said lion treed or caught by J.R. Williams. And I looked for him and looked for him, and I never could find him. I knew he lived in Fair Acres somewhere, but I never could find him.
You should have gone over
That
there
shows
to
you-
the ranch and asked Rob where he was buddy, because they were hunting buddies.
Yeah. And then
I
I
showed you
went.
that them lions will be anywhere.
They can be anywhere.
Anywhere.
Right there at that same place. Have you seen those little hills in the distance? I take my dogs out there often, and I can take, I got a lot of dogs, so I can take all of them and just exercise them. And we ride through those hills. And I hit a track in there one time. And this is, I know people are going to think I'm full of crap. This is the honest truth. This is what happened. I was right, and the dogs hit that track, and they started trailing. They're working that track all the way through, and we trailed all the way to the other end. And when it broke out into that, on the other side, it's like I don't know, like a brushy dirt, but they couldn't trail anymore. I thought, man, maybe these dogs are trying to trail a coyote or something. I don't know. So I turned them around, went back to where I started it, and sure enough, we trailed it the other way too. I thought, well, they couldn't trail a coyote backwards like that, so we trailed back out the other direction, and I didn't think nothing of it really. I thought, well, probably maybe a lion had come through there, and I loaded up my dogs and went home. Next day, the wind was blowing 50 miles an hour, and there's no way you wanted to be out there in the wind. And Cody King, matter of fact, Cody King sent me a picture of a lion off a game camera. He said, hey, this is up there somewhere by you. And Cody King's way down in South Texas. And I looked, and I called him right away. I said, where was that picture taken? He said, well, somewhere around there by you. And those highline wires in that, well, you can't see the picture, but the highline wires in the picture, my truck had been parked right underneath those highline wires. And that lion was right down the road from me on an old dead cow. And I had probably trailed that lion within 200 or 300 yards of where she was. And but it was kind of crazy. That picture went all the way down to South Texas and then came all the way back to me. And I was out there trailing that lion the day before. But and then I caught, not probably 25 or 30 miles north of there, I caught a lion on the ground on the Armandaris on the Ted Turner's ranch. I used to be able to go out and hunt on that ranch. They tried to control all the lions because of the bighorn sheep. And if they get a picture or something in, they call me and I get to go out there and hunt it. But they quit doing that. So anyway, guys, there we go. Anything else? Benny's about to fall asleep on us.
I think I'm good. I sure appreciate the conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Oh man, it was great having you here. I mean,
it was your conversation.
We learned so much. Like I said, I want to go deer hunting down there sometime. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Just let me know when.
I'll bring my video camera.
There you go.
VHS.
What's up, Benny? You said you're going to say something and we cut you off.
Oh, take your terrace down there.
Oh, the terrace. Yeah, they'll run deer. They probably trash on a hog or a coyote or something in there.
Or make you look good and catch a bobcat.
Oh, wow. That'd be something. I might move in down there if they catch a bobcat down there. All right, guys. Everybody had enough? Any more questions? Anything?
Oh, that was great.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you coming in and spending so much time with us. It was a lot of fun. Guys,
what's your magazine again, real quick?
Southern Hound Hunting.
Southern Hound Hunting. There you go. SouthernHoundHunting.com.
And you cover everything. Coons,
everything.
Deer, coyotes, bears.
Coyote, squirrel, hog, everything but the birds.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Great, guys. Benny, you better go get you a nap.
Yep. I'm going to.
Thanks, Benny. Thanks, Chris. Guys, everybody in the chat, thank you.
Next Monday.
Onward and upward, guys.
Good night.
Good night. If I can turn this thing off.